Hey guys, got a little special guest today, and
I was ready for you to do welcome everybody to Crystal Kyle and
Oh.
Friends. That's where my mind went.
It's a lot more relaxed. So a bunch of updates for you guys. Haven't even been off air that long, and there's already 100 new stories. So, Binance, you know what Binance is, right, Crystal? It's that like crypto. It's like
Crypto exchange.
Crypto exchange, yeah. The guy who runs it pumped the Trump family crypto coin, and then Trump pardoned the guy Changpeng Zhao. That's the guy
People
who's
would just call him CZ.
CZ.
People usually
Okay.
call him, yeah.
Yeah. Well, he pardoned this guy after he pumped Trump's family crypto company. And when you look at the list of stuff that this guy did, it is absolutely absurd. So they failed to report transactions on his platform by Al Qaeda, ISIS, Hamas, and Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Then the Trump crypto company made a multi-billion-dollar deal in partnership with Binance, so Trump gave him a pardon. And then you get into more specifics here. There's terrorist financing, so some of the stuff I just went through. You also have, they profited off of ransomware attacks. They profited off of child sex abuse materials. And then darknet market stuff, so like scams and other illicit activities. And so involved in like illegal narcotics, involved in like mob activity and illegal account takeovers and large scale hacks and illegal contraband. And basically it was just like a total black market type stuff.
Yeah.
Where they're profiting off of it. And
I
the
did
government
some
knew all
research.
this, and he was part of it.
Yeah, I did some research into them previously. They also, I don't think that this is what he found guilty of, but there were also a lot of accusations of insider trading with regard to them and so it was no small deal that he made with World Liberty Financial, I think that's
Correct.
the name of the
Yep.
Trump crypto thing. It was like a $2 billion deal. And then not only that, he also hired two different like lawyers closely affiliated with Trump administration officials. One of them was like a hunting buddy of Don Jr. in order to secure this pardon.
Yeah, and I believe he was under Biden. He was being investigated for fraud, I believe. And so they're like basically just a smorgasbord of crimes. And Trump pardoned him because he's in business with him, which is like something that we're now getting, unfortunately, very used to. Apparently, if you support Trump at all, you get a pardon. And if you're any kind of like financial criminal that can afford to like give Trump a payoff, you're going to get a pardon. So like there is no more law anymore in the country, if you think about it. The 1,200 January 6ers who were pardoned. George Santos, I think people forget because he's like a funny character, just how many crimes he committed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He stole 11 people's identities.
Yeah, and robbed them of hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And then also, not only did Trump pardon him, he made it so he didn't have to pay the restitution.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, 10 GOP congressmen. I mean, it really is. And then on the flip side, if you're Letitia James, if you're James Comey.
And you did your job.
If you're, I know they're investigating Adam Schiff. If you are crosswise with them, then they will invent fake charges.
Totally.
In order to, to come after you. So, yeah, it's a total perversion. There is no law and order. It's just, for our friends, everything, for our enemies, the law.
Exactly. So CoffeeZilla made this point. Remember that hyperliquid whale that shorted the market and made $190 million because of Trump's tweets a few hours later? A Polymarket account linked to it called Big Winner 01 placed bets that CZ would be pardoned. Made a lot of money off that too. So again, and everybody's onto this now, but it's very clear it's either Don Jr. or Eric or Barron or Trump himself or Stephen Miller or Steve Witkoff or Jared Kushner. If there's somebody in that immediate circle who's doing this and just like the world's most obvious insider trading, making hundreds of millions of dollars just by knowing what Trump's going to do and what his tweets are. And again, this is like, I don't know if I haven't seen much talk about this on like in mainstream outlets. Yeah. It's literally like CoffeeZilla and a bunch of us assholes online that are talking about it.
Yeah. Every day there's like 5 scandals that would take down any other presidency, and they just like barely even get mentioned and so immediately get memory hold.
So President Trump announced that all trade negotiations with Canada are, quote, terminated effective immediately, and he accuses Canada of fraudulently using a fake advertisement featuring Ronald Reagan, speaking negatively about tariffs. And, you mentioned you actually saw this. They were talking about it on MSNBC. But this just led to like a bit of the Streisand effect where like everybody dug up everything Reagan ever said about tariffs.
Yeah.
And literally everything is like, they're fucking stupid, don't do them.
Yeah.
And so he looks like a fucking dipshit. So, but it's crazy.
This is my leftist concern about him like torpedoing the tariff and industrial policy conversation, because now the instinct is just to be like, yeah, all tariffs are bad, where it's like, no, they can be part of a broader trade strategy along with industrial policy in an intelligent manner. Instead, he's doing just like the worst, most reckless thing possible. So
he just ruined tariffs, which sucks, because there were examples of tariffs that used properly.
Under the Biden administration.
Yeah, used properly, it can, bolster U.S. manufacturing.
Yeah.
Right? But when you use it haphazardly across the board and you use it to, like, extort other countries to get payoffs and stuff, then, we're left with what Trump... But the fact that he's canceling all negotiations with Canada, like, I'm so sick of this, like, every day he wakes up and it's some new thing that he's just, like, obsessed with or pissed off about, and he just goes on a tweet storm about it, and it's like, China's tariffs are 155%, and then the next day it's like, we actually love President Xi. He's been very nice to us. He's treated us very nice. It's like,
well, and doing
what the fuck is this?
Tariff policy based on like the most random shit imaginable, including, remember, he slapped Brazil with huge tariffs because he didn't like what they were doing with Bolsonaro. So,
right.
And these are things that have direct impact on people's pocketbooks.
Totally.
Like, this is very important to individuals' bottom line. Not to mention that, like, it's very possible, ultimately, a lot of this tariff stuff that he's doing unilaterally is found to be illegal, because the tariffs are supposed to be levied by Congress, except in these like emergency circumstances. But again, we don't even think or talk about that.
But also, like, what are the courts at this point?
Right, well, that's it.
Like, we're going to wait 8 months for the courts to be like, you're not allowed to do that, and Trump's going to go, never mind, I'm going to keep doing it.
Or
like,
or for the courts to be like, well, we're not going to really decide
yeah,
whether you
punt
can
on
do
it. They
it,
punt on
but
it,
you
right.
can keep doing it for now because we don't feel like going against.
And that's been their trick. You're right about
their
that.
trick.
That's been their trick. Their trick is to say, we're not going to rule on this, which effectively lets Trump continue with it. But if some Democratic president were to try to do something unilaterally, they would immediately slap it down. You're not allowed to do that,
Yeah.
So it's like carte blanche for him, rules for Democrats.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Insane. All right, so we also have Trump. He was doing a White House event here. He said, Aaron Rupar tweets, Hegseth doesn't dispute the existence of a memo planning for the establishment of a National Guard response force that's going to be trained in crowd control and civil unrest and deployed in all 50 states by April 2026. And this is extra scary because this ties into, and we'll get to this in a little bit, I have some information on this stuff that he's doing around the elections.
Right.
That there's all these things that are moving into place around the elections where it looks like he's going to make a play for it. He's going to try to rig it from now until the end of time. But the fact that they're, again, like illegally making their own Gestapo and, doing it without any oversight, any legal authority whatsoever, and everybody's just so used to them bending the rules, bending the laws, and doing things that are unacceptable that, this will barely make a peep.
Yeah, and really, I mean, ICE is already his secret police.
Totally. Oh, yeah.
And with the funding from the One Big Beautiful Bill, it makes it one of the largest militaries even on the planet, best funded law enforcement agency in history. And there was a story that came, I don't know if you have it in here or not, but about how they're not doing all the background checks they're supposed to. So there's just a bunch of like
I have that in here
criminals
too, yeah.
who are now, massed up in our streets. And so, you layer on top of that, this National Guard force would be deployed to all 50 states. And like, what are we doing?
They actually want criminals. They want criminals in ICE.
Of course.
They just want the right kind of criminals. They want like white nationalist type criminals.
Yeah.
Did you beat your wife? We don't give a fuck. We don't care. Did you have an old assault charge?
No,
we don't care.
Not just we don't care.
We want you.
That helps you. That is a qualification for
Right.
the job of being lawless, assaulting people like citizen, non-citizen, random brown person, anyone who gets in your way. Like, yes, we actively want violent criminals just to do their violence on our behalf.
Were you at January 6th? Great. You could have your whole own ICE Gestapo fleet. You could be a leader in the ICE Gestapo. All right, so switching gears here, got to talk a little bit about healthcare. Here's the average U.S. family health insurance premium. I'm going to walk you through it. This is from 1999 up until 2025. It goes 99, 03, 07, 2011, 2015. Anyway, so it's in 99, it was $6,000 for the average U.S. family health insurance premium. Then it goes $9,000 in 03, $12,000 in 07, $15,000 in 2011, $18,000 in 2015, and then it goes all the way up to now in 2025, we're looking at $27,000. So that is a 365% increase since 1999, which means it's 6.1% increase every single year. Meanwhile, inflation has gone up 2.6% each year. So I don't know how you feel when you read this, but my reaction to this is I would say the things that I think should happen to health insurance executives right now, but that would get me banned.
It's crazy that it's so linear. It's $3,000 every 4 years. I mean, that also tells you, I don't know, it feels very like planned. Like, oh, this is the amount we can get away with. So
Right.
that's what we're going to, like, every year, this is the amount that we're going to continue to squeeze and squeeze and squeeze way beyond inflation. And then you wonder why there's so much like tumult and upset in the population. It's because can't afford healthcare, can't afford education, can't afford a house. You know, the basic bedrocks are all being rapidly escalating way beyond the cost of inflation. And this shit is not sustainable. Like,
No, it's not
someone is
sustainable.
going to have to confront the health insurance industry, big pharma.
It's a mafia.
The
It's a mafia.
hospitals, the private equity that owns the hospital. Like, someone is going to have to confront these people because this literally cannot go on.
It's literally a mafia. We're looking at a mafia. That's
Yeah.
what they are. And at some point, you talked about the death spiral associated with this. People are just going to go, and I'm surprised we haven't already hit that point, and maybe we have to a certain extent. People just going, I'm not going to get health insurance.
Yeah.
What? I'm probably net saving more money if I don't have health insurance.
Right.
Even if I do pay out of pocket when the time comes.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because what happens is, so it's the healthiest people, typically healthiest, youngest people who make that decision first.
Of course.
Then the remaining pool is older and sicker, and then guess what? That's more expensive, so premiums go up again, and then more young, healthy people get out of the system. Premiums go up again, and that's what's called the death spiral. And like, I don't know how we can avoid that at this point without totally transforming the healthcare system.
Yeah, what a sick, disgusting system, too, that people don't immediately know to bring up. Like, oh, we know the answer, Medicare for all.
Right.
We know the answer, single payer. We know the answer, copy every other developed country that has figured this out. We're the only one that hasn't fucking figured it out. And we haven't figured it out on purpose because of the mafia that is the health insurance companies.
I want to give a little credit to Democrats here, though, because they are the ones who really forced this conversation on healthcare.
That's right.
And they did it. I mean, I think they did it because the base basically forced them into it. But it shows you that if you use the leverage you have, and by, making healthcare the center of the shutdown conversation, you can force a conversation, put your opponent on the back foot. I don't know if you saw, there are some rumblings that the Republicans are about to cave. And,
Really?
Yeah. It was a decently sourced report. Ryan had some backup to it as well. Someone from Schumer's office that they were hearing the same thing. But effectively, they're looking at this and going, you know what, why don't we just extend the subsidies through the midterm so we don't have to deal with this? Because they thought that the Democrats, quite reasonably, they thought that the Democrats would cave very quickly. When they saw that didn't happen, and they saw that the polling was showing the shutdown was going against them, you're heading into a holiday season where people aren't going to have like food stamps. It's Thanksgiving, and they're not going to have money for Christmas.
And they're
all that
blaming
sort of
Trump.
shit.
Everybody's blaming Trump.
Right,
That's
exactly.
What
And
the
they
polls
saw
show.
the polls that this is not going well for them. So, so yeah, I don't know if that is 100% locked in, but there are some indications that they might cave. But anyway, Democrats have forced this conversation. Now they just need to get on board with Medicare for all and actually push the solution that we need.
That's exactly right. And by the way, you save trillions if you switch to Medicare for all. Because
Yes.
you're getting rid of the unnecessary for-profit middleman that just gets in between you and your doctor and takes a cut for no fucking reason.
It's completely
You know?
obvious. Completely obvious at this point.
Yeah. By the way, we look kind of funny because you look a little short. You look shorter than you've ever looked.
Well, I think it's because I'm like leaning over,
Oh, is it?
So
Yeah.
yeah, if I sit up, I'm like this. But
Yeah.
I'm like
And then
this.
we also have a dog in between our legs, which you guys can't see. All right. So now let's talk about this. There's a Tennessee man. This happened a while ago. I talked about it on my channel. There's a Tennessee man who was arrested for, quote, threats of mass violence on school property. That's what they said. The reality is he posted a meme on Facebook criticizing Trump's comments on school shootings. It was in the context of a conversation about Charlie Kirk. So it was like some page about Charlie Kirk or whatever, and he goes in there and he posts, quote, "We have to get over it," which is a Trump quote. He said it after one of the mass shootings where kids died in a school. So see what he's doing there?
Yes.
What he's doing is he's, mocking them, saying, well, you guys said this when there was a school shooting, so now I'm going to say this when Charlie Kirk gets shot, right? That's the idea behind that. He was arrested. And this was, I swear, we covered this 3 weeks ago, something like that? He remains in custody on a $2 million bond for posting a meme. $2 million bond. So, this guy, I mean, I'm not a legal expert, but let me just tell this guy, when you get out, you have a slam dunk lawsuit, bro. Slam dunk. And I'm sure somebody will take that pro bono, whether it be the ACLU or whoever the fuck. This is a clear violation of your First Amendment rights. It's the clearest violation I've ever seen. You posted a political meme online and were held in custody for 3 weeks on $2 million bond? They're fucking overreaching in these red states, Crystal. This happened in Tennessee. overreaching on this shit, you know?
It's insane. And I mean, the hypocrisy point is so obvious at this point. But, you know, they made a big deal about some cases in the UK. I think one of them had to do with some lady who like basically like incited violence against immigrants or something like that and got arrested. And, you know, I don't agree with the UK's approach to free speech. I support our actual, what should be position to free speech. But here they're doing like the caricaturish version of what they accused like the Biden administration of doing or threatening, or the UK doing. And, you know, it's just out in the open. I think when this first happened, I remember it coming up and a lot of people thought like, surely there must be something else going here.
Nope.
Turns out just literally for posting a meme.
Absolutely insane. And all the podcast guys who like to talk a lot about what's happening in the UK with the free speech stuff, none of them have brought this up.
Really?
None of them will bring this up.
I'm so surprised by that.
Gee, I wonder why that is. All right, so now let's talk about this. Trump, I think it was at that same White House event, he casually said, "We will be seeing land action in Venezuela soon." And then at the same time, the odds of U.S. military engagement with Venezuela rose above 50%, either on Polymarket or Kalshi, one of like the betting markets. So that's where we're at, Crystal. 57% chance of a boots-on-the-ground invasion in Venezuela, and the President of the United States casually saying, we will be seeing land action in Venezuela soon. And this might be the first time you're hearing about that.
They are, I mean, there's a lot of reporting. Actually, Ryan and Sagar have a new report out about how you have these 5 individuals in the White House who are basically running, you know, national defense or war policy. Stephen Miller and Marco Rubio being key players, but Susie Wiles involved too. And there are a lot of Floridians who are obsessed with this like Venezuela shit, who are very high up. Marco Rubio being the most significant one, but Susie Wiles is another one. Pam Bondi is another Floridian. And what has happened is that because you have a merging of Marco Rubio's hard-on for Venezuela regime change with Stephen Miller's hard-on for the using, you know, drug trafficking, terrorism, whatever, as a pretext for domestic crackdown. And that's what they were able to sell effectively to Trump. He didn't really care about the, like, you know, Cold War, democracy, human rights, like he rigged the election. He didn't care about that. What he cared about, what got him on board, was this idea of like, oh, well, they're trafficking drugs. We can't let them do that. And so now, in spite of the fact that Trump himself said, oh, Maduro was willing to give us everything, like, you know, that there was a big deal on the table for their minerals and their oil and all of that, they're still going forward with all of this because they all find the drug trafficking, which is complete and total bullshit, obviously, and they know it's bullshit. They find that a useful framework, not only for this action, but also for if you've got, you know, you're at war with drug traffickers, then the same way they're blowing up random boats in the Caribbean and the Pacific, they can blow up and murder random people here. And, oh, they were drug traffickers. Are we going to give you that evidence? No. We're at war with them. We can just murder literally anyone we want. So not only do we have...
They're already doing that.
Yes. Not only do we have the threat of regime change war, and very likely going forward because you don't really have any opposing forces internally in the White House who are against it. And you've got the cooperation with Trinidad. Ryan and Sagar also tracked some funds that have been moved around to things like a Colombia gun range and other factions that appear to be like, you know, anti-Maduro nearby factions in neighboring states. So you have that, the money moving, you have them laying the rhetorical predicate, and then you have very little opposition from the so-called opposition party, and not nearly enough like hair on fire coverage from the media either about what appears to be an imminent regime change war, which, you know, will create a failed state in Venezuela, have all kinds of fallout effects, just complete insanity.
It is the fact that now they've blown up, I think it's 9 boats.
Yeah.
Most of them Venezuelan, one of them Colombian, one of them Trinidadian. Now they're blowing up boats in the Pacific. They're trying to tie it to narco-terrorism, as you said. Would you guys like to take a guess how much fentanyl has come from Venezuela?
Mm-hmm. And
0.
they know that.
They know that.
That is the other part of Sagar and Ryan's reporting. They know that.
This is right up there with weapons of mass destruction. Lie.
True.
This is right up there with the weapons of mass. And in fact, at the same event,
it's more brazen because they don't even try to fabricate any evidence. You know, they just make some shit up and people go along with that. I mean, that's the other part is there's just no thinking. People are so easily talked into the next war.
Well, MAGA is going to be 100% on board, as they already are. And then the fact that the Democrats aren't saying anything leads me to believe that report that came out a month ago was correct, that the higher-ups in the Democratic Party said, don't touch the Venezuela thing, because we don't want to make it look like we're defending Maduro. Because then they'll accuse us of being communists, which, wakey, they accuse you of being communists anyway, no matter what. Why not stand on principle for the right fucking thing, which is no new illegal and offensive war against a country that didn't attack us?
They're just so incredibly lame. They're so scared of their own shadow. And, you know, and we talked to Ro Khanna about this on KKF this week, and he was saying, look, and the other part is that a lot of them agree with it. Like, we could go back to the first Trump administration, the whole Juan Guaido thing, and there was this, like, secret State Department funded, like, op as well that completely failed, that was nicknamed the Bay of Piglets because it was so utterly pathetic. But they were celebrating Juan Guaido, and the Democrats were on board with it. So, you know, there's a lot of Democrats who still have this, like, hardline, neocon, anti-communist, Cold War mentality as well.
Had a bee land on my hand. That was great.
Oh, that's... Yeah, it was a yellow jacket, right?
Oh.
I saw one over there.
Yeah,
so.
that same one came on my hand. Anyway, Trump also said it's still flying by my head, so... But hopefully I don't get stung and die. Bro.
Those things hurt, too. I have been stung by yellow jackets. It's not fun.
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun. We have Benadryl, though, right? That'll save my life. Or whatever. Fucking Claritin.
You'll be fine, babe.
All right. I don't want to die.
I'll nurse you back to health. Don't worry.
Trump also said, I don't think we're going to necessarily ask for a declaration of war. I think we're just going to kill people, okay? We're going to kill them. They're going to be, like, dead. This is what he said. I mean, this is, like, this is comic book villain type shit at this point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's so ironic coming from the guy who in 2016 and 2020 and 2024, you know, pretended to run against the wars. So stupid. We wasted so much money in the Middle East. Why did we do that? Why? It was a stupid war. It was a big fat mistake. And now that same guy, the same guy they just had memes made about him this last election, the pro-peace ticket with him and J.D. Vance standing there looking fucking iconic.
Who thinks he deserves a Nobel Peace
Prize.
Prize.
Nobel Peace Prize. Meanwhile, like, you'd be better off counting the countries he's not bombing these days, given that he's bombed Iran, Yemen, Somalia, Venezuela, threatening Mexico, Greenland, like all these different fucking places. So, I mean, this is just as dark, and honestly, no, I'm going to say it, it's even darker than the depths of the depravity of the George W. Bush administration. Because during the George W. Bush administration, they were doing all these fucked up illegal things overseas. But it was a lot less domestically. Now you have the ICE Gestapo thugs, you have an 84-year-old couple getting assaulted, you have priests being shot in the face with pepper balls, you have all this, like, the rules and regulations and the Constitution has been completely and utterly disregarded, even at home. Whereas Bush started, it's the imperial backlash, right? It started overseas and then it comes back home, and that's where we are now.
That's exactly what it is. And again, when he's saying, like, we're just going to kill them, they're going to be dead, okay. First of all, when I first read that, I was like, that can't be real that he actually said that. But no, that's literally what he said.
Yep.
It's not clear that he's just talking about, like, in Venezuela. Because he's also talking about when they come to land, we'll get them on land. Like, again, this gives them justification to murder random people here in the U.S. Whoever they want. With no due process, no evidence, no nothing.
The Antifa panic.
Yeah.
NSPM7. Think about that. That's how they're going to... it was an Antifa terrorist. We killed this person, but they were an Antifa terrorist.
They were a Trinidad gang leader.
Yeah.
Do we have
they're saying that now.
No, but they were. Just trust us. You should be glad we got the bad guys.
That's exactly right. All right, so we also have sloppy Steve Bannon was doing a show here, and he said, quote, Trump will be president in 2028 and get a third term. People ought to get accommodated with that. Then the host asked, what about the Constitution? Bannon says, quote, he's a vehicle of divine providence. So he's going to get a third term.
Guys,
Don't
very
call it a cult.
offensive to call it a cult.
He's going to get a third term, and he's picked by God. And guys, understand something. The reason why you're hearing a lot about this now is they're trying to soften people to the idea. And notice, they started out saying, oh, we're just trolling, right? Like when he put the Trump 2028 hats on the Oval Office desk when he negotiated with Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. He left the hats there and then took pictures and stuff like that. And it started, J.D. Vance was like joking around, like as if it was a troll, as if it was just a joke. And it starts out as a troll. It starts out as a joke, just like all the stuff in 2015 with the Pepes and the fucking Nazi posting. Then eventually they go, no, actually we are Nazis. We actually do believe that. Yeah. Eventually, as Sloppy Steve says here, it's like, no, we're actually he's going to stay in 2028. And so this is where we are. And it's just, I don't know, it's very strange because we see all this, we talk about it, we're sounding the alarm, but I don't know if I feel that same sense of urgency everywhere in the country when it should be, because I don't know what else they would have to do to show you that they are who they say they are.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they're doing not even just saying who they are, they're doing it. You know, it's the actions are there too. the thing that I was thinking about with 2028 as well is I think it was Weigel who posted something like, well, if Democrats can't beat like 80-something-year-old Trump at that point, like just wrap it up. And it's like,
I responded to that.
yeah. Oh, did you?
Like, yeah, I was like, it's not really about if the Democrats can beat them. They're saying they're going to rig it.
Well, that's it. I mean, first of all, number one, like, okay, that's one question of the Democratic Party's like ability and capability and all of that. We certainly have plenty to say about that. But they are openly rigging 2026. When it's Trump on the ballot, there's no way. He's tried to steal the election last time. He wouldn't leave. You think this time? Oh, they won.
Surrounded by people who let him do whatever he wants this time.
Right.
Last time, at least, there were some people like, hey, dog, we don't do that.
He took the psychos, the biggest psychos from 2020, and they're now in the administration, right? Like, they're doing all the groundwork is being laid. He's already casting down our mail-in ballots. The Dominion voting is owned by some hack. Like, that is all already being laid. And you think that if the Democrats won fair and square, he's just going to leave the office and accept that? He's going to allow that to happen? Not a fucking chance. That's what they're telling you. They're telling you it's his divine right to be there. Like, they mean it. They mean it. He means it. He's never going to leave. He's never going to leave if you don't force him to leave like they did last time around.
So there's a big New York Times article that just came out. Trump empowers election deniers still fixated on 2020 grievances. And Max Flugrath tweeted the following. New, Trump's team is plotting to declare a fake national emergency to hijack elections. One top operative says they can, quote, take steps without Congress and mandate election rules for states. The New York Times investigation exposes the operatives, and the takeover is already underway. So if you're following along here, Trump and the Republicans are already aggressively gerrymandering in certain states. Trump signed an executive order early on in his term that would have allowed Elon Musk and Doge to oversee elections. He's mandating all state voting data be given to the feds, and he's appointing 2020 election deniers in key positions. And that's on top of the Dominion voting systems, as you reference, being sold to a MAGA hack. So he's going for it. All the ducks are lining up in a row where they're going to try to steal it. And you said they're also going to try, even if they're not ready for 2026 and Democrats win, they might just not seat them. They might just say, just like we're looking at now with Adelita Grijalva, that there's a trial run of like, okay, you say you won. What if we say you didn't and we just don't seat you? How about that?
Yeah. And don't forget, the Supreme Court is likely going to strike down part of the Voting Rights Act.
That's right. That's 19 seats that could go to Republicans, handed to them on a silver platter.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And not to mention a lot of the tactics they deployed in 2024, which were likely determinative, and this is why the part of states having to send in the voting rolls is important, because they can take nationwide these tactics of just kicking legitimate voters off the voter rolls, mostly targeting black voters because they vote disproportionately for Democrats, and rigging the election that way so that, you reshape who can even vote.
That's right.
So there's all sort of tactics that they're going to use to try to rig this thing in their favor. And it's all out in the open.
All out in the open.
It's not really hidden. Just very few people put the pieces together. By the way, Max, who you mentioned, who was doing some of that reporting, there's actually going to join us on KKF next week.
That's awesome.
He replied back, yeah.
All right, that's great. I love to hear that. So here's another thing that's scary as it pertains to the media. A Trump official tells the New York Post that the administration favors Paramount Skydance to buy Warner Brothers Discovery. So that includes CNN, by the way. Mm-hmm. And a number of rival bidders are likely to face stiff hurdles from U.S. regulators in the blockbuster auction. Quote, who owns Warner Brothers Discovery is very important to the administration, a senior Trump official told On the Money. The Warner board needs to think very seriously, not just on the price competition, but on which player in the suitor pool has been successful getting a deal done. And that points to the Ellisons. So, think about what this means. You've already had Zionist hack billionaires buy up all these different media outlets, including now CBS, where Barry Weiss oversees all the bullshit, right? TikTok, all that stuff. That's why they're purging pro-Palestine content. So you have pro-Trump Zionist hacks consolidating the media. So as Adam Johnson says, the Ellisons' purchase of Warner Brothers always felt inevitable. But now Trump is openly threatening Warner Brothers to take their offer or else. Soon the TikTok algorithm, CBS, HBO's political content, and CNN will be under Ellison family control, and thus 100% pro-Trump, pro-Israel schlock. So they are making a play to get the entire media. And anybody that's left standing who's not already owned by a Zionist right-wing billionaire he will wage lawfare against in the
Right.
same way that he's suing them, trying to shake them down for millions of dollars.
Jimmy Kimmel, that
whole thing, you know, NBC, all like this is where we're at. So it is a full consolidation of media, which is an attempt to snuff out all dissent. They're making a play for it. And I have many criticisms of CNN today. I think they're both sides' false equivalence factory. But in a scenario where the Ellisons buy it, it objectively gets way, 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 way worse.
Yeah.
Not even close.
That's
and so,
exactly
and
right.
it's a terrifying thing because then it's like, okay, well, what do you do with the last bastions of some semblance of free speech, right? You think he won't eventually make a play for YouTube? You think he won't eventually make a play for the other social media outlets, which might be viewed as relatively free?
Or
what would stop him?
Or he doesn't have to, because there's enough threats against them that they institute their own censorship,
Right.
To make sure that they don't run afoul of Trump. Like, that's also the other part, is that it's not just about these particular, so you have a vast swath of the media that's consolidated directly in the hands of his allies. Again, this is classic authoritarian playbook, right? So go look at what Orban did in Hungary, like same exact shit. And then the other ones, you use lawfare, you use threats against their mergers. You know, he's unafraid of using whole of government, the DOJ, the IRS, to threaten other outlets so that they're like, oh, well, it's just easier for us that we're going to make more money if, lefty content doesn't get shared on YouTube. Anti-Trump content doesn't show up in the algorithm in YouTube or is taken down entirely. And so I think those... Yeah, I know. He really likes you. I wonder, do you have like a hair product or something?
It's my cologne.
Oh, really? Oh, my God.
It was on my face.
But anyway.
Don't swat it unless you're going to kill it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I don't really.
Because then you get agitated,
Yeah.
Fuck you, Joseph Aboud. Joseph Aboud, your cologne is too good. Smell my neck.
Oh, yeah, that's nice.
It's like a cheap TJ Maxx one too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was only like $15.
So.
Because it wears off quickly. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, authoritarianism.
It sucks.
It's here.
It's bad.
It's bad,
folks.
It's not good for us. That's
All
why you
right.
should like and subscribe. By the way, for real though, actually, like we've been thinking a lot about this. We are, as much as we're independent, we're also totally dependent on YouTube. Over at KKF, also Substack has been very dedicated to free speech, which I appreciate.
Doesn't Andreessen own it or some asshole own it?
I don't think so.
I think some asshole is invested in it, but anyway, go ahead.
But possible. But they've been very committed thus far. I've seen no flinching from them on free speech in either direction, by the way. And then, but Spotify, Apple, we're dependent on these giant tech platforms. So are you still having bee issues?
Yeah, I'm being terrorized over here, bro. Next time I get it over here, I'm just gonna whap that shit.
Yeah.
Imagine I do that and then there's 87 bees that pop out of nowhere.
Put my sandal here for
very professional stream we got going here. All right, so now I got to give you this Hanania thing. He released an article that I appreciate very much. So he wrote a piece on how to say that the media is anti-Trump is just factually wrong, and his reasoning is interesting, and it actually makes perfect sense to me. So he says this: one thing that has always bothered me is people who say the media is biased against Trump. It's actually pro-Trump. It would be impossible to be biased against Trump, because the media would have to devote more than 100% of its attention to his scandals to give them the attention they deserve. For example, Hunter Biden made $11 million. The Trump family has profited to the tune of $3.4 billion off the presidency. In terms of pure numbers, the Trumps have profited 309 times as much. Then consider that no evidence has emerged linking Hunter's ventures to his dad, while Trump is directly involved with his businesses. How much more coverage do the Trump scandals deserve? Maybe 1,000 times? You couldn't write about them enough, as there are other things to report on. So Trump gets a pass. So he goes on and he explains how, the Obama, if you like your doctor, you can keep him thing.
Yeah.
That was a big lie, and the media covered it a lot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But
That's a great point.
he says, Trump says a lie that's akin to that or worse than that, at least 5 times per day, usually more than that. And it gets nowhere near the amount of media attention that the Obama one did. Mm-hmm. So, in other words, because of his actions, there's no way to actually cover him correctly. And this is something I've been struggling to verbalize correctly, because I feel this, where every time I'm prepping for my show, I end up leaving a couple stories on the cutting room floor that alone could be a legacy-defining story for any other president, where it would sort of ruin them. You know what I'm saying?
Completely. Yeah, completely. And yeah, I really, that resonates with me as well, because you do have this feeling of I don't feel like I'm meeting the standard of like giving these things the attention they deserve. I'm doing everything that I can to make sure that the most important ones are brought to you. But there are other things happening in the world that you want to get in as well. One thing I've been thinking about is, you and I are just individual people. Like, we only can do so many hours of programming a day. Cable news is literally 24 hours a day.
No excuse, man.
And the normal model of cable news since the inception is that basically every show goes through kind of the same list of stories. There's a little bit of individual variation based on this host or that time of day or something new breaks or whatever. But basically every hour you're getting, okay, here's what the top story is. Here's the stories that we deem as like the most important stories of the day. And I think that model needs to be reassessed because you just are not then using the entire landscape of the program that you have to make sure that you're getting in all of the stories that actually need coverage. So that's one thing I've been thinking of. Not that they're going to listen to me, or not that cable news isn't already like dying and being killed by Trump, but they actually do have enough real estate with 24 hours in the day to theoretically cover some of these things in depth and get to them. But they don't do it because they're still stuck in this old model of like, we're just going to do basically the same five stories every hour.
And if they did what you're describing, I think they would like triple their ratings and be way more relevant too.
I would think so too, because you would, they'd be covering things we couldn't get to, or, they would be covering some of the things we do get to that they don't. Because right now, there's a bizarre situation where even though they have, sort of like endless landscape and we only have limited hours that we can do, we cover way more than they do.
Isn't that insane? That's insane.
Because they're really limited to like, with the commercials taken out, it's like, I don't know, 47 minutes in an hour, something like that. Mm-hmm. You're really limited to that since you're just basically recycling that 47 minutes every single hour.
What you need is exactly what you're describing. Like, do all the news, all the stories that are interesting that people would genuinely be interested in. And you have to marry that with compelling personalities that are charismatic. Mm-hmm. You put those two things together and you have a 24-hour network that like does that with different charismatic personalities.
Yeah.
It would be a paradigm changer,
Completely. Yeah, and you'd have to coordinate across all the hours. Like right now each hour is kind of like individually programmed. You'd have to coordinate across all the hours, say, okay, well, here's the 50 stories we're going to cover in the day
exactly.
versus the 5 stories.
That's right.
Here's how we're going to allocate them. But yeah. If I was designing a cable network for today, that's what I would do.
Final thing here from Hanania that I wanted to share with you.
Yeah.
He says basically like every single previous president seems like a saint compared to Trump. And Trump is a reminder of how civilization functions by showing what it looks like when all standards are gone. And I think that's correct. I think he is a reminder of what it looks like when literally there are no standards whatsoever.
Yeah.
And the person with the power can effectively do whatever they want.
I think Gaza is a part of that too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the key example,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, so now let's talk a little bit about this. The DHS Gestapo in Portland dragged a blind man across the pavement and dropped him on his head. And the crime that this guy committed is he was sitting in a place where they said he's not allowed to sit. The guy is 4'6" and blind.
Oh my God.
And I know you guys can't see this right now, but Crystal can see a picture of them dropping him on his head right here.
Jesus Christ. I mean, I've seen some efforts now beginning to at least track all of the abuses and lawlessness of ICE. I think that's an important start because these guys need to understand that, like, there is a very strong chance that if Democrats ever get back into power, their sense of impunity is going to be gone. Like, they are actually going to face punishment for their crimes. And
you think so? I hope you're right.
I think it's possible. Lori, I mean, they'll be easier to go after than like Stephen Miller because they're just random dudes, They don't have all the like money and elite protection racket and whatever that.
Certainly civil lawsuits are coming either way, I think.
Mm-hmm. I think so. I hope so. But like Lori Lightfoot announced that she's doing a project to quote unquote unmask ICE to track what they're doing specifically in Chicago.
Letitia James
is doing the same.
Database of any ICE crime or anything reported here.
So, and they're now increasingly coming in New York. New Yorkers are not fucking having it either.
Bro.
And
nope.
There's going to be a big confrontation with Zoran as well. So I don't know. I mean, it's unreal just to see these masked, military, kitted up thugs rolling down the street, slamming into cars, shooting people and lying about it. tear gassing anyone and everyone,
Yeah.
including the Chicago Police Department, and then, dropping some guy on his head who dared to exist.
Let me interject because you alluded to this earlier. ISIS stockpiling warheads and chemical weapons as lawmakers fear Trump is planning a strike. So that's great. There's been a reportedly there's been a 700% surge under President Trump in terms of weapons being bought. Federal purchasing logs show ICE spent $71.5 million on small arms, ordnance, and ordnance accessories.
Wow.
So that's great. Domestic army, what can go wrong there? There's also, you alluded to this earlier as well, NBC is reporting that some ICE recruits are being sent to training without background checks, and they have serious criminal histories. A man was recently arrested for playing Darth Vader's theme music, marching behind National Guard troops walking through Logan Circle. So that right there for sure is a case where if he sues, he's going to make millions of dollars because
Says ACLU is suing on his behalf. So
yeah.
There you go.
Right, and I'm sure they're doing a pro bono or whatever, but this guy, if it's a civil case, he can win a lot of money off this because it's just an incorrect arrest.
Did you see? I saw like TikToks.
I think I covered it. I think I covered it now that you mentioned it, and it was perfect because it's like it just same thing as with the big inflatable cartoon outfits. Like that's perfect. It's like, all right, what are you gonna do, tough guys? You're gonna assault a fucking inflatable frog? And the answer is yes. They are gonna do that. But then that's like, okay, well, this in the history books, it's all very clear, right? In the same way that when you look at the Tiananmen Square thing and there's the guy standing in front of the tank, everybody's like, oh my God, a hero. This is even more clear than that. It's like, oh, you're assaulting a fucking Dora the Explorer?
Right. Right. Yeah, they're spraying tear gas into the, intake valve in the frog costume, which is, insanely violent and
so criminal.
Dangerous.
So criminal. Ken Klibbenstein says, I obtained videos of 2 FBI agents visiting an anti-ICE protester not charged with any crime. While the media continues to mock Trump's war on Antifa as legally impossible, the FBI is quietly implementing it with investigations like these. So, never committed a crime whatsoever, and you have the FBI harassing the shit out of him. So, that's great.
It's here.
ProPublica says 6 months after ICE apprehended 47 people, including 9 kids, in Hayes County, Texas, County Judge Ruben Becerra says DHS has ignored his attempts to get answers. Quote, we're not told why they took them, and we're not told where they took them. This is a judge speaking. By definition, that's a kidnapping.
Yeah.
That's a judge saying this is a kidnapping.
Yeah, that's right. I remember I saw a story about all those people that were in Alligator Alcatraz.
Still 1,000 of them people don't know where they are.
Right. There was a court order forcing them to be removed because it was unsafe and unsanitary. And now they're just gone. And family and friends can not get in touch with them. I mean, do you guys, do you get people... What we're talking about here is not only kidnapping, people being disappeared into secret prisons. That's where we're at. That is where we're at. And if anyone thinks this is it's just gonna be the immigrants, I think you're an idiot. You're an absolute fool and a moron. We already saw an apartment building, mostly with U.S. citizens in it, raided in the middle of the night. People pulled out of their beds, kids pulled out of their beds, zip tied together. Those people also, those immigrants are a bunch of follow-up stories, also just kidnapped and disappeared. Nobody has any idea where they are. And then they'll just brazenly lie about it, using Black Hawk military helicopters on a random apartment building with low-income people in it in Chicago. And this is where we're not headed there. This is where we are today in America.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You saw the entire East Wing now is destroyed.
Yeah.
So Trump tore down the entire East Wing. Totally illegal, by the way. Just did it. Now he's going to have billionaires pay him to set up his fucking Great Gatsby ballroom shit, which is more just pay-to-play corruption because he's going to do more favors for the billionaires for donating to this thing.
And also more indication that he intends to stay there forever.
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly right. But the whole East Wing being pulled down and then watching MAGA be like, what, no big deal, bro, just a renovation, bro. I like this point from Vosh I wanted to share with everybody. He says, guy who thinks history is being destroyed when General Lee statue number 4,963 is removed from a town square, but also thinks the entire East Wing of the White House is just a building. And that's so true. I didn't think about that before, but it's so true. Like any fucking random asshole Confederate statue that you go to pull down.
A statue, a name of a building.
Right, yeah, name of a street that's named after some Confederate who fucking lynched people. And you go to take that down there. Oh, history! How dare you besmirch our legendary history? East Wing of the White House? Whatever, bro. I see them trying to do some dumb false equivalent shit saying, did you know Obama put in a basketball court, bro? It's like, oh, you really got us there. Jesus Christ.
God.
And
Yeah,
the bee's
it's
back.
very disturbing. The
bee's back.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's all right.
The East Wing thing is, I don't know. It's it almost makes me feel conservative. It's very disturbing because, first of all, I mean, it does spark in me a sense of like, this is supposed to be the people's house. This is like history has happened here. We should have some respect for that, some preservation of that. And then it also is just because he is putting this like permanent stamp on the country in this visual way. And that's why he's doing it, that I find it very disturbing.
Yeah, totally. All right. So, oh yeah, I know you'll love this story. This is AI.
Yeah. Oh
Police officers handcuffed what they believe to be a 16-year-old student armed with a gun at his high school based on an AI system telling them so. It turned out the student had a Doritos bag, not a firearm, and the AI may have mistaken the two.
Oh my God.
So I wanted to ask you, because I know you're big on like AI is going to just like destroy us all.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel that way, but then the other half the time I feel like it's so massively overhyped and they're never going to be able to crack that artificial general intelligence line.
Yeah.
And when I see stories like this, that makes me feel like that if anything, it's like we're way overestimating what it's capable of doing.
Well, this story is, which in that case, it would actually be hopeful.
Right,
because
that's the least bad scenario.
Right, the least bad scenario is that it's a fucking bubble, there's no good way out of this, right?
That's right.
The least bad scenario at this
Is a depression at the bubble
is
burst.
a mass depression because the bubble pops.
Yep.
And that is horrifying. But if we go beyond, if they actually succeed in their ambitions, then they make human labor irrelevant. No one has a job. The only people that matter are like a handful of trillionaires who have not only all the money, but all the power. The only reason they care about any of us being around anyway is for our labor. So if our labor is no longer relevant to them, like why would they even bother keeping us around? I'm talking about the oligarchs at this point. The worst case scenario is like the AGI apocalypse, which I do believe. And the people who are developing it believe is a real threat, by the way. So that's why I say the best case scenario is that it's a bunch of bullshit and it's a bubble and it pops and it's an economic catastrophe, but we're able to somehow recover and live to fight another day. This one has seeds of both, because on the one hand, you're like, oh, well, the AI is so fucking stupid. It didn't know it was a Doritos bag and not a firearm. On the other hand, you can see the way that if you have these Palantir or other similar driven mass surveillance systems and people get swept up in it, and this like move towards pre-crime, which this administration is already moving towards doing, you can see this just like incredibly dystopian impact where, in this case, the 16-year-old was able to be like, hey, there was a Doritos bag before he gets like murdered by the cops. But you could easily see that going in the other direction, couldn't you?
But also the fact that they're using the technology already is disturbing.
Yeah.
Because like if you can't even fucking tell the difference between a Dorito bag and a gun, why did you get a contract?
Police departments are using this type of technology too already. They're using it at the airport as well, by the way. But I remember another instance, I'm going to blank on some of the details, but I remember this guy, they thought based on some AI surveillance system that he'd like stolen a luxury purse and arrested him. And it turned out like he wasn't even in that state.
Oh my God.
At that time. But he was in prison in jail for a while before he could prove to them, I am not that guy. Happened to be a black guy, and that's the other thing that they found is that AI is worse at distinguishing people of color from each other. So we're like, and that story happened, I want to say maybe like 2 years ago I read about that.
Christ.
So this is already here in terms of law enforcement's use as well. And much of these police departments too are trained by the Israelis, which is a whole other story.
Oh God. All right, so now we also have this, that total U.S. debt officially crosses above $38 trillion for the first time in history. So that means the debt we have now is more than it was in World War II, which I think is when it peaked in the past. This marks a $500 billion jump this month alone and a $23 billion jump per day. That's insane. So we added $10 trillion in under 5 years. The line's basically going straight up. And in the past, I would not have cared about this in the slightest. I think debt fear-mongering is generally pretty fucking stupid. I think it's generally used to try to like cut social safety net programs, and that's like the justification for it.
Yeah.
However, now this matters because Trump has made an enemy of the world, and so eventually the dollar will no longer be the world reserve currency. And there's going to be a turn away from the dollar. We're already seeing a turn away from U.S. bonds, right? And so in a world where the dollar is not the world reserve currency, then our debt and our deficits matter. Then they matter. Then you have to worry about something like hyperinflation in the U.S. It was inconceivable previously to say hyperinflation could hit the U.S. because you generally need serious political instability in order to get hyperinflation. But Trump is making it so that's a possibility.
And a lack of confidence in
right,
the
lack of confidence
federal government.
Right.
Yeah. And no, you're absolutely right. And I feel the same way. And then it's also just like, you know, you look at that and you're like, and we don't get health care, and, you know, childcare is wildly inexpensive, and you can't go to college because that's too expensive, and, you know, you can't buy a house because that's too expensive. Like, meanwhile, Argentina's getting a bailout, and Israel gets endless flows of money all the time. So it's also just a stark reminder of how much money we spend on things that none of us want that money to be spent on.
Totally. That's exactly right. You kicking 17 million people off Medicaid, but giving Javier Milei $40 billion for his fucking fail state.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
All right. This one I liked, Crystal. I wanted to share with you. Rob Schneider, you know, he went super far right, even though he's a comedian. You know, he was like friends with fucking, I was going to say Billy Madison, but Adam Sandler. He's friends with Adam Sandler. So he tweeted, he's a big anti-vax guy. He's probably like a big Jimmy Dore fan, if I'm being honest with you.
Oh, really?
So he came out and tweeted, FYI, there were no children's hospitals when I was a kid because kids weren't sick. He tweeted that.
Is he serious?
Yes. I'm telling you, he's a dipshit. Like, he's really stupid.
Oh, my God.
And so immediately Community Notes hits. The first children's hospital in the United States was in 1855 and earlier in other parts of the world.
Oh my God.
But this is, you know, and he's like RFK dick rider.
I mean, that sounds like literally like something RFK would say. Because he says this shit about, when I was young, we didn't have any autism. It's like, ugh. This is just... Yeah. It's like if my dad became Health and Human Services Secretary, you know, the kind of guy like, you know the type, the old white guy who like any sort of thought he has, he thinks is brilliant. Yeah.
You know, any sort of instinctual, like, what if cigarettes were good for you? Like that sort of, you know what I'm saying?
I think being in the sun is actually good for
right,
you.
yeah, like it's shit like that. That's who these people are.
Oh my God.
All right, how about this one? You'll get a kick out of this. So Chris Cillizza, who's like the resident idiot who used to be on CNN and now is like wallowing online with not much of a following.
And he's also done kind of a right-wing turn too.
Of course. The only one who hasn't is fucking Don Lemon.
By the way, I was wrong about
him. Don, I apologize. I hope you're watching this. I like you now.
But most of these people we have to say we were right about.
Oh, totally.
Chris
fucking
Cuomo,
100%.
Andrew
Cillizza.
Cuomo, Eric Adams, all these people we were like, they're basically right way. Oh, that's ridiculous. You guys just want a small tent. And then mask off. Immediately. The moment it's convenient, mask off, total right-winger.
But Don Lemon, good job, bro.
Yeah.
All right. So Chris Cillizza says Jasmine Crockett running for Senate would be a dream scenario for the GOP. Quote, the problem is it's very difficult for me to see how Crockett will reach out to the middle, particularly in a state like Texas, where there just are not enough Democrats. Even if you get all the Democrats to vote for you, you don't win. I don't think that is the right nominee. And that's what's worse for national Democrats. I think it's very hard to stop Jasmine Crockett from winning the Democratic nomination if she does run for the Senate. So here's my issue with this. It would be very difficult for a Democrat to win a Senate seat, a U.S. Senate seat in Texas. It would be very, very difficult. That's a given, right? But the reason I love the idea of Jasmine Crockett running for that is because she's a game changer in terms of what she does to the national dialogue and the conversation. And she drags it to be on our terms. She goes on offense against the Republicans, right? So, like, if you're going to go down anyway, go down swinging. Go down fucking putting these assholes on blast, as opposed to having some fucking nutless, Democrat running for U.S. Senate in Texas. So, well, I kind of agree on the border. Maybe we can do a middle ground policy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, no, fuck you. Fight back. Actually represent democratic values. It's like Stephen A. Smith, who recently went after Jasmine Crockett and said, like, oh, she talks ghetto, and that's why the Republicans want her in front of cameras, because it helps the Republicans. And it's like, I'm sorry, Chris Cillizza and Stephen A. Smith, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Correct.
So if the Democratic Party is appealing to you, you are rich assholes. We don't want them to appeal to you.
Well, these are the type of people, too, who I would say that Janet Mills is a better candidate than Grant Wagner in Maine. You know, I mean, this is their way of thinking, which is just completely wrong, outdated. And that the Democratic base is rejected. I mean, at least that part he realizes, like, oh, Jasmine Crockett would probably be a shoo-in for the nomination because, yeah, Democratic voters love her.
We're done. It's over. We're done. Like,
they love her. They're not going to take your, like, scolding about, oh, she's not electable enough anymore. And I will say, like, Jasmine Crockett kind of sucks on Israel, sucks on crypto. Like, policy-wise, not exactly my cup of tea, but respect where it comes to communication. And by the way, if you do want to have a chance at winning that seat, You do actually need someone like her who can set the conversation and
Correct.
set the agenda and isn't just reacting to whatever Republicans are throwing at her. No, she will be making the news and creating the news and forcing them to respond. That's what you have to do to even have a prayer. And you have to excite people. Like, you have to excite young people, you have to excite your own base. She actually has a shot at doing that much more so than the other candidates in the race, in my personal opinion.
And they're also downplaying just the impacts of human psychology, right? Like, you want a candidate who's likable and charismatic, but also strong and a fighter, you know? And I feel like the psychological aspect of candidates is just totally brushed aside by establishment Democrats. Like you said, you pointed out Janet Mills. She's fucking less charismatic than a wet paper bag. You know what I'm saying?
The least popular Democratic governor in the entire country. And maybe the least popular governor. Some new approval ratings came out for her that were even lower. She might be the least popular governor in the entire country. And they're like, that's our girl. And she's the one.
You look at Schumer, you look at Hakeem Jeffries, you look at, like, people who they don't check any boxes. They're not charismatic, they're not likable, they're not strong, they're not fighters. They check none of those boxes. And it's like, at some point, Democrats need to correctly start prioritizing some of those things. The policy is a must. You have to be there on policy, but these other factors are so important, and we can't afford to not have that anymore. Whereas on the right, anybody who can make a lot of noise and generate a lot of conversation and get people talking and get people on their side, they immediately rise through the ranks and get to the top, because it's like, sorry, you got there naturally, right? On the left, and Jasmine Crockett has sort of admitted this, they try to, like, shut her up oftentimes, the establishment Democrats.
Yeah, which is insane.
Insane. Absolutely insane.
One of the guys in that race is that James Tallarico guy. What do you think about him?
He gives me Pete Buttigieg vibes, right? And it's like, I don't know.
I think Liz Smith might even be involved. I don't know. Maybe I'm making that up, but
to me, there's a certain kind of Democrat, like the Obama-style Democrat, that's just dated.
Yeah.
And when I say that, what I mean is you're very buttoned down, you're very proper, it's very clear you, like, memorized your talking points. That, to me, is like, it's 2008, right? It's 2012.
Yeah.
And now it's like, look at who's fucking running the country. This absolute psychopath who's ruining everything and has never pre-planned a fucking, talking point sheet in his life, And it's like, you got to fight fire with fire.
Never got an accidental Nazi tattoo while drunk at a bar in Croatia in their life.
I think of the ad where he's, like, standing on top of the pickup truck and wearing his, like, Texas shirt and, like, giving a speech and people are standing around, like, and it's like,
yeah,
what
and
is
doing
this?
the whole, like, we're all Christians and we all believe in the same thing, and it's like, yeah.
It's like, can't you just call them fucking pedophiles? Can't you just say, these are a bunch of fucking pedophiles? They're corrupt pedophiles? Just do that. All right, so Barry Weiss is considering hiring Brett Baer to be the new anchor of CBS Evening News. I
didn't see this.
Well, this is, of course, part and parcel of what we knew she was going to do. She was going to make CBS go softer on MAGA. That's what this would be, and more pro-Israel.
Yep.
And there you go. Perfect example of exactly
CBS,
that.
The Fox Newsification of CBS has officially arrived.
Correct. Alex Jones' InfoWars is now part of the new Pentagon press corps.
Oh, my God.
Not only them, Timcast. So Tim Pool.
Oh, I saw that. And some other weirdos. I mean, even some...
There's literally a Chinese cult that they gave press pass, because these are the only people who will sign hegsets, signing away of your First Amendment rights.
Right, because they're demanding that you...
Can't run any story unless we approve.
Agree to not run any leaks. Like, I mean, most national security reporting is based on leaks that you get. So then you're just agreeing to only ever
do
tell
propaganda.
the official story and do government propaganda. And, even news outlets like Fox News were like, it's too far even for us.
I never want to hear ever again from anybody that Tim Pool or fucking Alex Jones or any of these people who signed away their rights are fucking anti-establishment. I never want to hear it ever again.
Yeah.
You guys literally signed away your constitutional rights to be little fucking lapdogs for a fascist regime. And what's so ironic is that this is all the shit that's happening now under Trump is the shit that Alex Jones warned would happen in, like, the late 90s and early 2000s.
Right.
Fucking police state and tyranny, and they're going to spy on everybody, and they're going to take away your rights, and ISIS, the Gestapo's going to be in the streets to destroy. That's what's fucking happening, and you support it all.
Yep.
You fucking fat fuck, Ozempic Jones. Fuck you. God damn it. All right. We also have, this was gross. So you know who Lila Rose is, right?
Yes.
She's this pro-life, she runs, like, this pro-life agency. And she actually tweeted the following. Meet baby Charlie. His parents were told his organs were underdeveloped in the womb and were advised to end his life prematurely through abortion. They refused. Baby Charlie was born and lived for 2 precious hours before passing away naturally. Every child is worthy of life. Those 2 hours were full of excruciating pain. So as one of the Chapo guys says, Felix, he says, "You may think it's barbaric and evil to force a 12-year-old to give birth to her rapist baby at gunpoint. However, have you considered that we made an infant suffer unimaginable pain for 2 hours he was alive for no reason? So not so black and white now, is it?"
Yeah.
Like, the fact that she said that publicly is just, we live on a different planet from these people.
Yeah.
These people don't live in the real world. Like, if I was in the shoes of that baby, I don't want to experience excruciating pain for 2 hours and that's all I know on this fucking earth. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is the humane thing to do.
Well, not to mention, I mean, and then think of the parents, and I don't know where these parents were and whether they chose this or this was forced or what the deal was or whatever, but you're forced to go through an entire pregnancy to deliver a baby that you know is going to live mere hours, and those hours will be in pure excruciating pain before they inevitably die. And like, I mean, think of like, it's one thing if you are the parents that like have this view of life, you're committed, but think of
it's traumatizing.
Yeah, think of the woman who doesn't want that
It's
and
traumatizing.
is forced to go through this whole process and delivery and all of that just to have that be the outcome. It makes you think too, like Ezra Klein has been doing this, like, oh, we need to ease up on abortion and it's like we won the argument on abortion. What are you talking about?
In fucking Missouri, they voted for abortion rights.
Yeah, all these red states voted for abortion rights, like took the pro-choice position. And now's the time when you'll be like, oh, actually, they have a point. It's like, no, now's the time to press the case because actually people are on our side. And after the overturning of Roe versus Wade, the pure barbarism and horror of the policy landscape now is undeniable.
Just horrible. The U.S. Secret Service apparently paid millions of dollars to secure Charlie Kirk's memorial. This is reporting from TMZ. Could you imagine a scenario where me or you got murked and then, like, you know, some Democratic president pays $20 million to have Secret Service secure our fucking rock star event of a fucking funeral for us?
Whole thing felt like a fever dream.
Absolutely.
Really weird.
Absolutely.
Still really weird. Like, we don't know any more about Tyler Robinson. Apparently there's like mass gag orders. I don't know. Whole thing is still really fucking weird.
So our boy Bernie's in a bit of a scandal, Crystal. He said, and we actually listened to this Tim Dillon Bernie podcast.
Yeah.
We were not crazy impressed with how he did on that podcast, if we're being honest.
This section in particular.
Yeah, he's had better...
He seemed eager to just, like, move on from that
it's like
conversation.
he only wanted to talk about the stuff he wants to talk about.
Yeah,
and he didn't want to engage at all on the culture war stuff.
Yeah,
but
and
like,
I mean, that is kind of, like, just Bernie's MO, if we're being honest.
Yeah, but we're in the era we're in now, it's like, nah, bro, you gotta actually fight on... You can't give ground to these fucking psychos. They're trying to make it illegal to be trans. You can't give ground to them in that fucking environment. Anyway... So here's the thing he said that's leading to a bunch of backlash. He said to Tim Dillon on the issue of the border, quote, "If you don't have any borders, you don't have a nation. Trump did a better job. I don't like Trump, but we should have a secure border. It ain't that hard to do it. Biden didn't do it." So I think the issue there, to me, is the quote, Trump did a better job. And when we heard that on the I didn't even catch that line when we listened to it live. Did you hear it when we heard it live?
I did, yeah, I noticed that.
My brain heard that if you don't have any borders, you don't have a nation.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, that's fine. I'm not, that's not a crazy thing to say, right? But the Trump did a better job, I get why people are pissed off. Because it's like, we're literally looking at, like, he's just doing fascism. Like,
right.
That's all he's doing is fascism. And when you look at what the ICE Gestapo thugs are doing, assaulting elderly couples and shooting priests in the face with a pepper ball and fucking rounding up children and putting them in the back of U-Haul vans naked and like all the things that they're doing.
And blowing up random boats in the Caribbean and in the Pacific.
All that, yeah. And hyper-militarizing the border. It's like...
And ending asylum. I mean, this is, Trump has secured the border. He's done it in this like completely lawless fascist way. So, and there's no discussion of, that other side of like, okay, at what cost is this, quote unquote security coming? I just hate the Democrats for years under this, really starting with Obama, even before that, Clinton administration, but really, my political consciousness really begins intensely with the Democrats in Obama. They had this belief that if they talked a tough game on the border, then there would create a political space for like a broader compromise, comprehensive immigration reform, path to citizenship.
Didn't happen.
Things. That was a failure.
You just fed the fascism pipeline.
All you did, that's exactly right. All you did was accept their framing. and empower them. And the most clear-cut example is the way Kamala handled this issue in the election,
Yes.
where they're like, we did.
We're actually for the tough border bill, and Trump is against it.
Right, and they're
Which is true.
against
She
it.
was for the tougher border bill. And
I
what'd you get for that? They still
prosecuted
say you're for open
transnational
borders.
gangs. Exactly. And so you can't accept their framing. Like, their framing is immigrants are bad and that we need to stop having immigrants come. And the immigrants that are here, we need to get rid of. And if you aren't rejecting that framing outright, like, it's fine to say, okay, we're a nation of border, we got to have border, okay, whatever, fine, do that thing. But if you aren't rejecting the notion that immigrants are what's destroying the country and taking your jobs and they're bad and we have to get them out and we got to secure the blah, blah, blah. Like, if you're accepting that, then it's like, that is actually a problem. That is actually a problem.
And by the way, Bernie is also just like factually wrong because Biden deported 4 million people. And that is more people than Trump deported in his first term. Mm-hmm. And it drives me crazy.
Obama was the deporter-in-chief.
The deporter-in-chief, right. It drives me crazy that, like, there's this war on facts, and the right has won that war when it comes to the border. Because nobody knows the fact I just told you. We're the only people who will tell everybody Biden deported 4 million people. He kept fucking Title 42 in place for way too long after he took office. He did the I'm the fucking tough guy on the border, and he still got smeared as if he was in favor of open borders. So to your point, yes, we need Democrats to start telling the truth on immigration. What's the truth on immigration? The truth is, immigrants are good. There, I just said it. Immigrants are good. The overwhelming majority of immigrants who come in this country work hard, just trying to take care of their families, be law-abiding citizens, become Americans. Oftentimes, they do genuinely love this country a lot more than people who were born here, as Mehdi Hassan accurately said the other day and got shit for. Immigrants are good people, right? They commit crimes at a much lower rate than American-born people. Mm-hmm. So we need to flip that narrative. How the fuck do you think we became a fucking superpower? How do you think we became a superpower? Because we limited this country to only fucking white assholes who have powdered wigs and shit in outhouses? Are you fucking stupid? Are you stupid? No, it's because of immigrants. Immigrants made this country great. And so I'm sick of this fucking bullshit. And that's why it's like, Bernie, I get it. You want to go to Medicare for all. You want to go to fucking raising the minimum wage. And I love all those talking points. But when it comes to dealing with MAGA in the year of our Lord 2025, you have to also take them on in the realm of the social policy. It is super fucking important. They are going full fascist. They are taking away people's rights. If they have their way, they will make it illegal to be trans. Illegal to be trans. That is a war on freedom. In the same way that back, when he was mayor of Burlington, Vermont, it was a trans mecca, they called it. He was very opening and welcoming to trans people and to gay people. We need that same mindset now. Don't give in to these fucking half-baked talking points of like, well, what about the children? What about the fucking 3 children in the country who are fucking trans, right?
Right.
It's like, what the fuck are we doing here? And by the way, yes, there are trans kids. They exist. In the same way that some kids are gay, yes, some kids are trans. Let's stop being fucking stupid where we pretend like, oh, it's all a social contagion and it's all made up and this kid wants to chop off his dick and balls because he was convinced to want to do it. It's like, shut the fuck up. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You're just wrong.
Well, and the last thing I'll say on this is we need to not only have our own alternative story of why things are fucked because of the billionaires and the oligarchs, but we have to defeat their story.
Correct.
And an important part of their story is that it's the immigrants' fault.
And it's the trans people.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so when you have an opportunity to take down that narrative, you have to take it. Like, you can't shrink from that. And I get it. Like, I get the balance. Okay, you're going on this podcast. The audience is more right wing. You're trying to do things in a way that they'll still find you appealing. Bernie Sanders has enough credibility to be able to, and even Tim Dillon has expressed concern over what ICE is doing, whatever. Bernie Sanders has enough credibility to take that narrative apart and not to just immediately try to pivot to something that feels like safer ground for him.
Totally. All right, so Joe Manchin went on the All In podcast with Chamath and the other idiots, and he said, quote, boy, was that a letdown. Went too far to the left talking about Biden, and I don't think that was in his heart.
Oh, my God.
But he came out of Iowa bad, came out of New Hampshire even worse, went to South Carolina, got resurrected, and within 3 weeks, everybody drops out. Had to make a deal, I think, with the wrong side of that and try to calm it down. And just for the sake of being president, I think he had to sign up. His people took him to the promised land of the far left, which has no return. By the way, the thing he said, you had to make a deal with the far left. He's talking about like Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar and Beto O'Rourke and all the people who dropped out to endorse Biden. Well, yes, because he talks about, hey, after South Carolina, he got resurrected. Everybody dropped out. He made a deal. So he's talking about all those other people who dropped out and supported him. And it's like that. Those people are not fucking left wing. Point number one. Point number two, the left wing things that Biden did, like on the economic stuff, That's the best part of his legacy.
And that's when he was the most popular.
Of course.
In office.
Of
was
course.
When, at the beginning, when he was doing more progressive left-wing stuff.
They cut child poverty in half.
Right.
Because they decided, let's cut child poverty in half.
Yeah.
And so the approval rating was high. It only went to fucking shit. Well, there were a few things, but certainly after the fucking genocide in Gaza, which he armed and funded. Mm-hmm. So I hate this fucking, there's this thing that so many people do, which is like, I forgot the question, but the problem is the left.
Right.
Like, forgot the question, the answer is the left sucks.
Why
and it's like,
even the choice to talk to Joe Manchin is such
I know,
a weird
and
choice.
just, like, and the other thing is, he never gives specifics. He always talks in this very vague sort of way. So here's another one. Quote, I kept telling Biden, Mr. President, you have the most liberal staff that I've ever seen. He said, Joe, they tell me I have the most diversified staff. I said, we're not talking about diversity, sir. We're talking about batshit crazy. And it's like, okay, Joe Manchin, what are you talking about? Tell me one thing that was too far left, that was such a problem, that was unacceptable.
Yeah.
He never does it.
And what staff are you talking about specifically?
And to the extent that there were any diverse staff that did a bad job, it's because they were covering for Biden's bullshit. Like Karine Jean-Pierre covering for the fucking genocide. Mm-hmm. That's got nothing to do with being far left. That's far right. Genocide is far right. So I hate this vague, and you hear it all the time in the podcast world. You hear it all the time from centrist politicians and right-wingers.
Yeah.
It's just this left bashing over and over and over, and nobody gives any specifics as to what exactly the problem is with the left. Is it that we want higher minimum wage? Is it that we want free college? Is it that we want universal health care? Is it that we want to end the wars? Is it that we want to protect people's constitutional rights? Like, what is it? What's so bad about the left?
Right. Yeah. And what did Joe Biden specifically do that would fall in the category of, of devastating and far left in that way?
You'll like this one. I wanted to give people the breakdown of the numbers for Graham Platter versus Janet Mills. Post-scandal, here's how it breaks down. Socialists are supporting Platter 81-7. I would love to meet the 7% of socialists that are like, I'm a Mills supporter. Progressives, Plattner 73-13 for Mills. Moderate, Plattner 57, Mills 28. Conservative is the only group that Mills is winning. It is Mills. That's right. 33-12. Mills is winning that. By age, Plattner wins 75-14 with the young people. And then he's leading in every category, and even with the old people, 65 plus, he's still winning 39-34.
Incredible.
Gender, for men, he's winning 65-18. Women, he's winning 52-28.
Come on, ladies. Get it together.
He's still winning them.
I know, but
you want more than that.
Yeah, you need to do better.
Okay.
Do better, ladies.
With people with no college degree, Plattner 59-25. People with a college degree, Plattner 56-29, almost dead equal.
That's interesting, isn't it?
It is. It is
very so much education polarization.
Yeah, and then favorable, unfavorable among Dems. Plattner has a 60% favorability rating, 8% disapprove. That's plus 52. Mills is 65-16. She's plus 49, so she is still liked by the Dems there, but he's just liked more than she is.
Yeah.
So it's kind of incredible. Sitting governor is losing pretty handily to this insurgent candidate, which I don't know if I've ever seen that before.
More than doubling her. It's
incredible.
Not even close. I have one quick question on that for you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you think that, because there was a lot of nervous lefties about Graham and the Reddit and the tattoo and all that stuff, do you think that this poll will basically cause them to be like, all right, well, whatever?
I think a bunch of them will try a U-turn. I don't think it'll be a mea culpa to be like,
no,
I was wrong. I think it'll be more like totally, Graham, bro, totally, bro.
I think it will quiet some of the nervousness, don't you? Because it's it's one thing if you're like, oh, maybe he can't beat her, and then we're losing an opportunity. It's another thing when he's destroying her, and the idea that you're going to get another candidate in the race at this point who's going to do better than that is preposterous.
Right?
So,
yeah.
You've got a choice. It's Graham Plattner or Janet Mills. Who are you going with?
Right. Yeah, I think it will largely quiet the criticism. But then again, there's new stuff that they're trying to hit him with, so I wanted to get your reaction to this.
Okay.
Plattner is shaking up his campaign amid a swirl of controversy, bringing in a longtime friend to function as his main Senate campaign's new manager, hiring a compliance firm, and sending non-disclosure agreements to staffers. So the only part there that is particularly interesting or worthy of scandal is the non-disclosure agreements. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's fairly standard. I don't think that's really unusual in a campaign to sign NDAs. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I that it's good. I'm just saying I think that's I don't think that's unusual.
Yeah, so you think it's part of the continued attempt to sort of drag him down? Because it's Politico reporting on this. And then they report on some of the other stuff too? Weren't they the ones who did the hit piece?
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
And also, in terms of his Senate campaign manager being a longtime friend, as someone who ran for office,
That's fine.
I actually do think it's really important to have someone in there who has
you
known
can trust.
you a long time.
Of course,
who
no,
you
absolutely.
fully trust. And also,
that's not the scandalous part.
Who's
in my
looking
opinion.
out for you not just as a candidate and a campaign, but like as a human being.
For
so
sure.
That I actually think is probably a smart move.
Yeah, I actually think it's total snake shit to do what his previous campaign manager did, which is like now all of a sudden like crusading against him.
Political.
I feel like that's
his
snake
political
shit.
director, but yeah.
I feel like you owe it to them at least to just shut the fuck up if you now are starting to disagree and stuff.
Yeah.
Because like you signed up for this
I'm
thing.
sure that's why he's having them sign NDAs, to try to protect
Yeah.
himself.
I will say, personally, I'm against the NDAs. I know it's standard practice, but I just think you should, as a matter of principle, you shouldn't do it. And I also think at a time when they're looking for any reason whatsoever to take you down, I think you should avoid doing it. But then again, I mean, the argument is maybe he's doing this because he feels like he's got stuff he doesn't want them to say. That's how this is being interpreted by people who are going, this guy's a problem, is they're going, the only reason he's doing it is because he's got stuff to hide, and so he's trying to shut them up legally.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, but I'm also somewhat sympathetic because, we've seen these stories before of like, there's some inter-office drama and someone's mad at someone else and they have a beef and they go to the press and, or he's gruff one day, and they do this to women candidates a lot, where it's like, oh, she's a secret bitch.
Well, Amy Klobuchar, what was it? She ate with a comb or something, or threw a comb at somebody or something?
Yeah, well, apparently she is kind of wild to work for, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just being sexist. I don't know. I'm sort of sympathetic to it, especially after what he's just gone through. So I'm giving Graham a pass.
All right, so Michael Wolff, I'm still pro-Graham, but I will say that I do understand. I'm somewhat sympathetic to the people who go, I'm worried about another Fetterman. I'm just worried about another Fetterman. Like, I understand that perspective. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to be sympathetic to those people because I get it. It's hard to disaggregate between what's just rank Palantir, fucking AIPAC smear to try to destroy this guy who's calling what Israel's doing a genocide, and what is, legitimate red flag that potentially down the road we'd look back and go, oh, fuck, he was giving us signs that he wasn't the one. You know what I mean?
Well, that's where the Reddit history is really useful. Because you can look through like decades of his leftist posting and feel pretty confident about where he's been politically and where he's likely to go. We just need to, make sure that his head is protected so he doesn't get severe brain damage like John Fetterman did, to make him a completely different person.
I agree with you, but also to a lot of people, once leftists turn on you, it makes a lot of people go, well, then fuck the leftists and fuck the left. We've seen it 1,000 times, right? And so I just hope that that's not also his mindset of like, wait, the leftists are the ones who fucking turned on me. What the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like, things are always fluid. It's not really, like, his politics are not like set in stone. You know what I'm saying?
The leftists shouldn't turn on him. That's the answer to that.
I mean, I agree, which is why I did the segment I did, but I'm just... Anyway.
I don't know. I get the Fetterman fear, but I also think it's a bit, like, I think people are a bit over-traumatized by that because there were, like, clear red flags there, and he's literally brain damaged. So,
I get that, but people would say the red flag for him is Blackwater and 4 tours. It took you fucking 4 tours to realize that this was immoral?
Which is why the Reddit posts to me are very comforting in a weird way. Like, I'm actually more committed to him now.
Because of the Reddit posts?
Because of the Reddit posts. And like, oh, no, he's legit. Like, if anything, he's further left than what he's portraying publicly is actually the likely reality.
Well, being a Michael Brooks fan is like, that's great.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's perfect. That's exactly what I want you to
like
be,
Yeah, that's like if some candidate was like, you found out they were inspired by my show or whatever. It's like, oh,
I mean, here's the thing for me, bottom line. Like, you've got 2 choices. Janet Mills or Graham Planner. Like, and by the way, we're not main voters, so they're going to get to have their say about which one they want. And at this point, they want Graham Planner.
Very clearly, too. Like, not even close.
It's a binary choice.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You can have the lady who supports a genocide or the guy who doesn't. Like, this is not hard. It's just not hard.
Right.
And there's a risk, yes, that he could turn out or something might happen or he gets the brain damage or whatever. Yes, there's a risk. But based on what we know of these 2 candidates at this point, the choice is extremely fucking clear.
All right, so Michael Wolff sued Melania Trump in New York. He alleges that she tried to intimidate him by issuing legal threats over his comments about the Trumps and Jeffrey Epstein. So I found this interesting because I thought, if anything, the lawsuit would go in the other direction. Melania suing him, but no, he's suing Melania, which I found interesting, which also I feel like in my mind sort of increases his credibility. Because he's like, I got nothing to fucking hide. Let's take this shit to court. Like, everything I'm saying, I can fucking back up.
Interesting.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I guess probably it might be a situation where he thought she was going to sue him. And so as a legal strategy, you want to get in first and like make the first move, and then she has to countersue. It might be something like that going on where he thinks it's coming anyway. But yeah, that's interesting.
That's
And
interesting.
it could be some very interesting discovery there.
That's the other thing, is we already know, because of Michael Wolff, we already know a lot of dirt. And I think he's like, bring it on, bring it on. All right. So this was crazy. Trump, apparently in an interview, I think it was with Time Magazine or Newsweek, in a Time interview, he admitted that he was involved in the pager attack that Israel did on Hezbollah.
Oh, my God.
And admitted he was involved in the overthrowing of Bashar al-Assad. He said, quote, and all of those attacks... Hold on, let me make it bigger because this is kind of small. And all of those attacks were done in auspices with me directly.
Auspices?
Yeah,
I didn't know
it's
he
so
knew
crazy
that
he knew that word. With Israel doing the attacks with pagers and all that stuff. So they had Israel's been very respectful of this country, and they let me know everything. And sometimes I'd say no, and they'd be respectful of that. But Obama treated Israel so badly.
It's so hard to even read.
No, when you read, you realize how retarded he is. Excuse my language. When you read it, when you read it,
transcripts,
you realize this guy's off.
I mean, and maybe he knew about it, maybe he didn't. It also is the case that he could have thought it was cool and just decided that he wanted to also kind of take credit for it.
That's true too. But it's funny how with any other president, if they admitted we were involved in these war crimes, everybody would be like, fucking war criminal. But he does it and he's bragging about it, and nobody will even talk about it.
Remember Netanyahu gave him a gold
that was
pager,
a threat.
Gold beeper. Yeah,
that was a threat. That was a threat to Trump. It was you're going to do what we want you to do.
It also, though, makes me feel like maybe he's telling the truth, that he was kind of involved in it or knew about it or whatever. So, I don't know.
There's another MAGA Fredophile, Christian musician who sang the national anthem for Trump at 2022 rally, is facing felony child pornography charges. Why does this keep happening, Crystal? It keeps happening. It's weird.
Yeah, a lot of them are closeted, the most anti-gay, anti-trans ones.
Pedocon theory undefeated.
And pedocon theory, and not to equate those two, but yeah, I don't know. But I also saw that the January 6ers, now there's something like 30 of them that have been pardoned that are back in trouble with the law.
30?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I covered 3 or 4 of them. I didn't know it was 30.
I saw an article that was people tend to think the number's 7 or 8. The true number is actually more like 30.
Well, remember, Trump even shocked his own staff when he pardoned everybody, because they were saying publicly oh no, we'll look at the ones who are nonviolent. We'll look at, and he was like, all of them.
Yeah. That's when you knew that was to me a sign oh, we're in for it.
Totally.
There's no fucking guardrails.
Absolutely.
They don't fucking care about anything. They're just fucking going for it. And it's been horrors ever since.
So Candace Owens is now openly saying that Trump killed Charlie Kirk. And she brings up because whenever they give you a fucking holiday or a day of remembrance or they name a street after you, they always do that after they kill you. And so when I saw this tweet, I was like, that's not right. Let me listen to it. And then I clicked it and listened to the video. It's true. She actually implies, if not outright says, that she thinks Trump killed Charlie Kirk.
Wow.
Which, by the way, Candace, keep going. I love it, because this is what you need. You need them to the right to fight amongst themselves. Mm-hmm. And, take the heat off of the people who definitely didn't do it, which is the left. I know the left has been blamed and they're trying to link it to Antifa and whatever bullshit. Total nonsense. But this is what you need to get to that point, is you need people saying, wait. It's definitely Trump, or it's Israel, or it's a conspiracy with this group or that. It's not the left. And so I support her just for simple divide and conquer reasons. I support her doing this.
It's crazy there aren't more actual mainstream journalists though that have any curiosity about this. I think Ken Klippenstein's still about the only person who talked to any of Tyler Robinson's friends.
Which, by the way, creepy as fuck, right? You should have fucking talked to people for that.
Yeah.
That strikes me as oh, so you guys are trying to put this thing to bed.
That's what it feels like.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's very weird. It's very weird.
You'll like this one, Crystal.
Oh, I love this one.
Virginia Democrats are moving to redraw their state's congressional map. The surprise move could give Democrats 2 or 3 additional House seats. So they got the memo. They got the Newsom memo of, look, we got to fight fire with fire. Texas was the one that started this with their gerrymandering and redistricting to give Republicans 7 or 8 more seats. Gavin Newsom was like, whatever you do in Texas, we're going to fucking counteract here in California. That's Prop 50. They're going to vote on that soon. I think it'll pass. But so you have that, and now Virginia's stepping up to the plate. Shockingly, in Illinois, you have Pritzker did not say he was going to do that. He said the
Yes.
opposite.
Disappointing. Like,
Very
what the
disappointing
hell?
because, guys, like, it's here. Like, they're not going to stop. They're not going to slow down. They're going
Yeah.
to fucking gerrymander the high heavens. Okay, if you guys are going to gerrymander everywhere, then we got to gerrymander. It's not fucking rocket science.
Yeah, and the way this works, I actually talked to this state representative in Virginia, very cool guy, Sam Rasool. He's Palestinian American, one of 2 Muslims in the Virginia legislature, represents Roanoke, which is like southwestern Virginia. Anyway, I was talking to him about it. And so basically, I'm not sure I have the total process locked down, but what they have to do is the legislature, which is Democratic, has to vote to put on the ballot a change to, I believe, the state's constitution, because right now it's the districts are drawn by like a nonpartisan commission.
Right, as in many Democratic states, it's like that.
Yes. So first voters have to vote to change that process, and then they can redraw the maps. So I think that's how it has to work. So it's like a multi-step process. But basically the way he said it to me was like, yeah, we can create the possibility to redraw the maps and, like, you know, have that available to us if need be. So that
great.
was the way he was thinking about
That's
it.
great.
Yeah.
And actually, I got to contradict myself a little bit here because Politico is reporting that Indiana Republicans do not have the votes to gerrymander their state
saw
like
that.
Trump wants them
Yeah.
to. So this is interesting. This is like, you know, I'm sort of getting the vibe today of like you punch the bully in the face and they sort of back down a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Well, here's the thing with these redistricting efforts is if you're going to try to draw like an ideal map, you have to predict voter behavior. And for some incumbents, like Republican incumbents in Indiana, it may be the case, it's inevitably the case that it will create districts that are a little harder for them to win. And you also may have a situation where like, oh, now we have 2 Republican incumbents that are in the same district. And it
steps on toes. It
steps on toes. Exactly. So even for, you know, people who want to be completely sycophantic to Trump, you run into individuals' interest in like, I'm the incumbent. I want my safe district. I don't want to have to run against this other guy. Or, you know, I like the lines of my district. I don't even represent this community yet. They don't know me at all. I don't want to have to run in that new district. So yeah, so it is a little bit more challenging than just like, we're going to do what Trump says, because it directly implicates their own political futures.
That's correct. But the advice I would give is Democrats, all of you need to gerrymander. Republicans, all of you need to not. And we need to make sure whatever the fuck is happening now is never going to happen again.
Indeed.
That's what I'd say. All right, guys, that's all we got. We'll talk to you later.